We are so happy that you're here with us today. Welcome to the 2023 Invest in Youth Breakfast, benefiting Youth Eastside Services, or YES. I'm Elisa Jaffe, and I am so happy to be returning as your MC for this very important event. We're honored that you're spending your morning with us, and we have a real inspiring program planned for you as we gather to support children, youth, and families who are struggling with mental health and substance use challenges, and in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. And I want to recognize first our generous sponsors for this event. Because of their generosity, their support, every donation that is made today will go in direct support of YES programs. And now I'm going to ask you, since there are so many, let's hold the rest of the applause until the end of that, because there are so many great sponsors. Our presenting sponsors are Amazon, Costco, and Microsoft. Yeah, that's big stuff. Our title sponsors are Overlake Medical Center and Nintendo. Our major sponsors are Allegro Pediatrics and Symetra Financial. Our key sponsors are Puget Sound Energy, Stiefel, Sweeney Conrad, Umpqua Bank, and Wagner Management Corporation. And on the screen, behind me over there, okay, and on the back of your programs, you will see a list of the supporting sponsors and also a list of our table sponsors for today's event. Please, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. And we also want to make sure that we thank the people who have been here working so hard to make this event possible. The YES Board of Trustees for their leadership and dedication to Youth Eastside Services. Our table hosts for their hard work spreading the word about today's event and getting all of you in those seats this morning. The Champions for Youth Giving Circle members who've contributed to the matching pool, which will double the impact of donations of $500 or more that are made today. And to the YES staff for their compassionate and tireless work, which helps East King County children, youth, and families heal and thrive. And finally, to the elected officials and those seeking office who are with us today. Could you all please stand so we can recognize you? And we also want to recognize a very important individual who is here with us today. I'd like somebody to help me have him wave his hand. This is Dr. Phil Noodleman. Where's Dr. Phil? Where's Dr. Phil? I didn't mean that. Dr. Phil Noodleman was one of the founders of Youth Eastside Services 55 years ago. Phil, we are so grateful for your outstanding vision, dedication, and commitment to Eastside children, youth, and families. And I was asking before, how long has this breakfast been going on? And it turns out Phil helped hold the very first breakfast in 1969, and he even cooked the eggs. And so we're so happy that your granddaughter, Alexa, is carrying on the family tradition of support for YES by joining the Board of Trustees. How cool is that? I want to tell you a little bit about Youth Eastside Services, or YES. It is the leading behavioral health service provider in East King County for children and youth from birth to age 22. And YES provides prevention, diagnosis, treatment for mental health and substance use disorders, life stressors, crises, stress-related physical symptoms, and they use a collaborative approach with partners throughout the community. And YES provides programs and services through 3 offices located in Bellevue, Kirkland, and Redmond, licensed mental health counselors within Lake Washington and Bellevue school districts, and in the community and teen centers, and because that's where the kids are. YES welcomes without discrimination, and thanks to the generous donors, anybody can receive services at YES regardless of their ability to pay, and that's a big deal. We have a very inspiring program for you today, featuring many individuals who have faced challenges of mental health or substance use and found the strength and resilience to cover. As a young person, I had challenges in my own family with my father's mental health issues and drug abuse and I didn't have the services that we are offered here today. So my heart is indebted to the people here. And later in this program, you will have an opportunity to make a gift to YES, and thanks to a generous group of donors in the YES Champions for Youth Giving Circle who have pooled together their gifts to double the impact of your gift. All donations of $500 or more will be matched dollar for dollar by this generous group. And thank you to the Champions for Youth Giving Circle members. Also, this is an exciting one. Thrilled to share that thanks to Willow's Lodge in Woodinville, which is such a cool place, we have a certificate for a one-night stay at their luxurious lodge, and it includes a $200 gift certificate to the Barking Frog restaurant, which is delicious. So those of you who give a generous gift of $500 or more will be entered into a raffle to win this fabulous getaway. And I want to point out that this event today will contain discussions of suicide, self-harm behaviors, depression, sexual harassment, abuse, references to substance use and/or references to other mental health disorders that may act as triggers for some of you. So if you find yourself struggling a little bit through these topics, just head out there. We've got a resource table for you in the lobby where a YES clinician will be there to talk with you and help you through this. And there's somebody else who I want to have you meet today. This is David Downing. He is the Youth Eastside Services Chief Executive Officer. He joined YES as its Chief Operating Officer in 2006 and has been the CEO since May of 2020. David is both a licensed mental health counselor and a child mental health specialist with over 30 years of leadership in the nonprofit sector, and he's just an all-around good guy. Please help me in welcoming David.
First, I just want to say thank you so much to Elisa. Elisa has joined us year after year as our MC, and she has her own mental health story, and it is so incredibly powerful for her to come in support of the work that we do here. And I want to welcome all of you for being here this year. Look around the room. This is the biggest gathering that I've seen since COVID. It's absolutely amazing, and that you're all here in support of the young people in our community for mental health, substance use, and the other supportive programs that YES does means so incredibly so much to us. I want to take some time to really thank Liv and Lily, our client speakers today. It takes a lot of bravery to come and show up today to do that. As a parent, as a clinician, CEO, and someone who faced many challenges in my own youth, I just really want to recognize the two of you and your willingness to be with us today. Now, I want to be a little interactive as we start, and I'm asking for people to let go of mental health stigma. Who in this room has been impacted by mental health or substance use? Yourself or a family member? Take a look around the room. Look at that. There's a reason that we are all here today in support of YES. It impacts so many of us, and I am so thankful for you all being here today in support of that. Last year at this event, I shared about my own personal struggles in growing up, and I'm here to tell you, as a teenager, I would not have been up here telling you my story. Lily and Liv, it's amazing that you're doing this. By us sharing our own stories of mental health, of struggles, it destigmatizes mental health, which is huge and it's important. So thank you for being here and doing that. Now, before we go into the rest of our program, I wanted to take a few minutes to share our ongoing concerns about what we see going on with young people in our community. I probably don't need to remind you that things have not been easy recently. The past few years and the upheaval have receded, but the youth behavioral health crisis, it simply really has not. Some of you may recall that last year I shared the joint statement by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Child Adolescent Psychiatry declaring a national state of emergency for child and adolescent behavioral health. Here's a question. Do you all think that's gotten better? Not just rhetorical. Do you all think that's gotten better? No, it hasn't actually. The national data, and this is just an example of some data, but there's just a recent report from the Center for Disease Control, and it demonstrates very clearly and deeply that this crisis continues and it continues to escalate. Just in live terms, I want to give you a demonstration of what it is that we experienced at YES in February. We reopened what we call our walk-in open access services, which is treatment on demand to get an assessment. Our very first day, we had 26 people lining up beginning at 7 a.m. when services didn't begin until 9 a.m., waiting to get help. Now I'm going to say, if I'm waiting for a cool concert or a cool sporting event, that's great. I can sit in a lawn chair, I can wait. But is this how young people should be accessing behavioral health services in our country? That's not rhetorical. No, it's not. We shouldn't be. In spite of this ongoing challenge, I want to assure you that we here at YES will do what it takes, as long as it takes, to be here for this crisis. We are making a difference. But we do that with all of you. All of your support of the work that we do is making that possible. So I really want to thank you for that. Because of you, each year YES counselors and outreach staff walk alongside thousands of young people with care and support, helping them discover the skills they need to build a life worth living. That really does happen because of the support of all of you here in this room, and I want you to know that, and we're appreciative. When Eastside pediatricians and school counselors need to refer a young person for mental health or substance use treatment, where do you think they turn? Again, not rhetorical. Why, yes. When local employers seek speakers on mental health or substance use issues, where do you think they turn? Thank you. When families struggle to afford mental health substance use services, and our outreach staff are there, who do they turn to? They turn to YES. I heard it again, thank you. I think that might have been you, Kathy. And the key thing is, no one is ever turned away for an inability to pay. YES is unique. There's lots of providers, and I will tell you there's a lot of commercialization of the behavioral health industry since this crisis began, where people are making lots of money. The big difference is YES helps everybody, regardless of ability to pay. At YES, we also have this really unique aspect that we have been here for 54 years in this community, so we know it. We have focused specifically on this community for a reason. We don't want to go shallow, we want to go deep. We are in schools, we're in community centers, we are in teen centers. This is intentional. We are in the spaces where young people are at. However, longevity does not mean everything, and I want to emphasize that. We are dynamic and ever-changing to the point that, hey, I'll be honest, I think we get exhausted at times because we are ever-changing to evidence-based practices and practices that we know and we see make a true difference with young people. And we are also constantly adapting to the ever-growing diversity of our community. YES is here, and it will continue to be here as a foundation of this community, and we can't do that without you. So thank you for that. Now, the next part of this is an interesting thing because the question that I am asked the most as CEO of the organization is, what is it that I can do to help? Because is anybody here surprised that we are in a mental health crisis with youth? I would be surprised if folks that came today would not know that. And I'm going to tell you that you can all play a role. It may seem simple, but it's significant. You can ask the young people in their lives how they're doing. How is school? How are things with their friends? You can even dare to ask the question, have you ever thought of suicide? If you ask questions like this to a young person, it matters, and it can literally be life-saving. Sometimes when I suggest to adults to ask these questions, they really get uncomfortable. They don't feel like they have the ability to do so. Well, I'm here today to tell you that you can. There's a term called wounded healer, and it was started by psychologist Carl Jung. And it means that we take our own painful life experiences as motivation, as a way for us to be inspired to help other people. And I'm going to say this, you've all had painful experiences in life. We all have. And you can lean into that as a way, as your inspiration. And don't be afraid to ask these questions again. Don't be intimidated. You can ask these questions imperfectly. You can even text these questions. You can ask them awkwardly. But remember, we can all be wounded healers. You all can, and you can be part of that solution. With that in mind, I want to introduce to you our new film, which I'm really proud of, called Ask the Question. It discusses topics that are very difficult, and as Elisa indicated, some of the things that we're talking about today, this film included, are very powerful. So again, we do have staff in the lobby to support if anybody is in need of that. In closing, I would just like to say that on behalf of the YES Board of Trustees and our YES staff, we thank you for being here and being part of the YES community and the YES mission. You truly are making a difference by being here and your support of the young people in our community. Thank you so much.
We've all read the numbers. We've seen it in the news. We've heard from experts. Many of our youth are in mental health crisis. The figures are hard to fathom. 20% of Washington 10th graders have considered suicide. 8% have attempted. Too many have succeeded. How many is that? 3 busloads. 3 busloads of youth will die by suicide this year in Washington. 3 buses lost.
Ian was the most self-assured, confident, lovely 14-year-old. I was the luckiest mom for the 14 years that we had him.
Ian is my brother. He's my hero. We lost Ian almost 6 years ago now.
My ex-husband had come out of the house and showed me a note that he found under his pillow. We call it Ian's last love letter. Like, he chose those last words to say how much he loved me and that his sister was his one and only, that he loved his dad and his family and his friends. And then the last thing that he said to us was, when I can't, I need you guys to live hard. Losing a child to suicide, it's just so hard to breathe.
When I was about 15, I think I started to have symptoms of depression, anxiety, and some suicidal ideation. It started first with cutting and self-harm and progressed slowly into attempting to take my life. I luckily had the privilege of my parents being extremely supportive. My mom was the one who actually did research and found DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, which is known to really be helpful for adolescents experiencing suicidal ideation.
I did have my own mental health struggles. Coming from an Indian family, mental health tends to be really stigmatized.
The stigma around suicide keeps a lot of people from reaching out.
Suicide doesn't come wrapped in a perfect box. We all want to say, like, you know, we saw it coming, but we didn't see it coming at all.
It's really hard to see the signs of someone who's suicidal or with someone who has mental health issues. They tend to hide their mental health struggles. I think nowadays a lot of the students that I see, they use school and academic validation as a way to get away from their mental health struggles.
There's not a type. There's not a stereotype. It can hit any child at any time.
These are the people that are the most put together. They have straight A's. They look very happy.
Every child is at risk. I think it's really important for kids to understand the services that Youth Eastside Services provides, because as a 14-year-old, if Ian had known about this but was afraid to talk to me or talk to his dad about what he was feeling, like, this could be a place for him to come and say, hey, like, I don't want to tell my friends, I don't want to tell my family, but I know I don't want to feel this way anymore.
I was really lucky that we had mental health counselors at my school. We have a YES counselor with us every day. Her name's Cora. I'm able to see her whenever I need her, and I can just walk in and she's there. So it's really nice.
I hope people will support YES because their community needs it. There's a lot of adolescents here that need supports that might not have access to it. So continuing to support YES means continuing to support your community and the overall safety and wellness of your community.
I think what we need is Youth Eastside Services to be in more places where kids are.
I would say for parents, it's critical to just have the conversations with your children.
I think we need to be unafraid to ask the really hard question of, are you thinking about suicide? I wish I would have asked.
If I had one message to give, if you know of somebody in crisis, ask the question.
By working together, we can make a difference in the lives of youth. We can help them feel heard, seen, and supported. We can help them see a route forward. We just have to ask the question.
We're here for you, Ian. And I'm here because I got that call at about 1 a.m. 6 years ago from my son, saying he was close to ending his life. But I also just got a text from him saying how great he is a few minutes ago. On your table today, yeah, that's pretty. YES has given you a magnet in hopes that it will help remind you to continue having these crucial conversations with the young people in your life. It includes a reference to a website where you can find advice on how to start these talks. And now it is my honor to introduce YES counselor Christina. Christina has been a counselor at Youth Eastside Services for the past year, and previously she worked as a mental health counselor in another community mental health setting as a DCYF case manager with foster care youth. She received her master's degree from Pacific University in Eugene, Oregon, and is working toward her independent clinical social work licensure. Please welcome Christina and our client, Liv.
Hello. It's my pleasure to introduce you all to Liv Wilkerson, a phenomenal young woman who I've had the joy of working with over the past year. Liv was one of the recipients of our Youth Eastside Services Youth Award this year at our annual community meeting. She comes from a background of grief and trauma that influenced choices that led her down a path of destruction. This year, Liv will be finishing up her junior year and entering next year as a senior in high school. Her goal after high school is to enter the Air Force and then advance up in a career in social justice and law to help empower others. It is my honor to introduce Liv Wilkerson, who will share about her vulnerable decision to ask for help and start her journey from feeling shattered to healing. Attendees, please welcome Liv.
Hi guys, I'm Liv. I'm here to share my story, and I hope that it really touches hearts because it touched mine. I was 13 years old when my older sister Taylor was killed in Seattle, Washington. That's when grief entered my life. At first, I thought grief was the 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But I quickly realized it's every emotion you can think of. My mom always told me grief doesn't define you. People always tell me everything's gonna get better, but my question is, when is it? Since my sister Taylor's passing, I've had many sleepless nights, gained and lost friendships, and had a reckless stage where my behavior was thoughtless. Now I live through my sister. 6 months after Taylor's passing, I met with my very first therapist ever. But I didn't find any help in her because I couldn't bring myself to trust her. The connection wasn't there, and I only shared the bare minimum. Then I met Christina Hubbard at YES in July of 2022. She provided me with trauma resources, deep breathing exercises, and the support I needed till this day. Through all the ups and downs, my dad always told me that life is a journey, not a destination. At some points in time, my emotions have taken a toll in my daily life. I was always the person that supported others, but I quickly realized that I needed support as well. Some people see the smile on my face and think that everything's okay, but it's really shattered inside. Gun violence has impacted my family tremendously, and my mom has become an amazing advocate against it. The love and respect I have for my mom is through the roof. She's been my #1 support through it all. We've accomplished so much growth as a family within the past 4 years. My mom deserves the world, and I wish I could give it to her. Sorry, guys. I cannot thank her enough for respecting every flaw that I've had, that I've presented her with. She has been my strongest support within my system of support. After I told myself I couldn't do it and that I didn't want to be here anymore, after being hospitalized twice, I believe my resiliency has grown. I put mental health before others, and now I'm better for it. I'll be 18 this fall, and I'll be leaving my nest to venture into the real world, and that scares me due to the homicides and dangers of people out there, but I will keep my head up for Taylor. I will enjoy my life under the circumstances. I'm a young woman, but I believe I have a strong mindset and will persevere. Thank you.
And we have no doubt that you'll persevere, Liv, and can't wait to have you be a member of the Air Force. And you make moms proud, too. I love that. Now it is my honor to introduce another YES counselor, Mercedes. Mercedes Cuevas has been with YES as a child and family counselor since 2021, before earning a master's degree in clinical counseling from Palo Alto University. She provided in-home mental health services to youth and families struggling with anxiety, depression, autism spectrum disorder, and trauma. Mercedes is very passionate about empowering youth and their families using a systemic approach to successfully connect and overcome challenges. She hopes to become an independently licensed mental health counselor clinician within the next 2 years. Please join me in welcoming Mercedes and her client, Lily.
Hello. I met Lily in the fall of 2021, and I find Lily incredible and resilient. She never gave up on her own mental health and recovery despite the mourning of her loss of her mom in 2020 due to cancer and then being sexually assaulted shortly afterwards. Lily struggled with finding hope for the future while having extreme trauma-related symptoms. Though feeling so isolated and at times contemplating suicide, Lily kept coming to therapy and challenged the notion that her life does not matter. She joined the Dialectic Behavioral Therapy Skills Group and continued doing the hard work. I witnessed Lily use her strengths in creativity, independence, critical thinking, empathy, and thoughtfulness to start and maintain new friendships, find new personal strengths, and be effective in her recovery process. Lily is still fully enrolled in school and is always willing to share hope and friendship with others in need of a good friend, as she once was. I would like to introduce to you Lily.
My name is Lily. I'm very grateful to be here and to be able to share my story and experiences with you all today. When I was 13, I lost my mother to breast cancer that moved to her brain. This deeply affected me because I had always been close with her and considered her as my best friend. For a long time, I thought there was something wrong with me. I was having recurring nightmares and flashbacks of my mother in her hospital bed. I didn't know what to do and was scared to talk about how I was feeling with anyone. I became depressed and believed that I was too much of a burden to be alive. I attempted suicide and struggled with self-harm. I finally built up the courage to ask for help and for a therapist. I ended up going to YES for regular counseling and was diagnosed with PTSD and depression. At YES, I felt understood and heard. I joined youth group meetings through YES and began to feel less alone. All of this came to a halt when I was assaulted by someone I trusted. I fell back into that hole I was once in. I was angry and wanted to give up. When I was assaulted, it wasn't your stereotypical raped in an alleyway by a stranger assault. It was date rape, and it caused a lot of confusion for me. When I tried to reach out for help, my friends didn't believe me, and I lost a lot of trust in the community. I faced different reminders of what happened daily and learned slowly that assault isn't as black and white as what I thought. YES reminded me that healing isn't linear. Though I wanted to give up, my therapist Mercedes challenged me to stay. Mercedes continued to remind me that taking moments for myself isn't selfish or inconsiderate of others. She reminded me that none of this was my fault. She taught me lifelong mental health skills I use every day, and she led me to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Through YES, I learned the importance of reaching out for help when you need it, and to never give up, to stay resilient. I continue to use skills and tools Mercedes taught me at YES to this day. My life is so much brighter now. Thank you, YES, for your services.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Please join me in another round of applause for Liv and Lily, who have shared their brave and inspiring journeys with us. Thank you, and a warm welcome to all of you. I am Alpa Parikh, member of the YES Board of Trustees, and in my day job, Vice President of Internal Audit at Smartsheet. I live in Kirkland with my husband and 2 teenage daughters. I was introduced to Youth Eastside Services by a friend and fellow board member, Tushar Mehta. I was immediately drawn to the mission of YES and impressed with the care and expertise demonstrated by the counselors, therapists, and leadership. As someone who was born in India, grew up in Kenya, studied in England, and has called Seattle home for almost 20 years, YES stood out as a source of support for children and families of all backgrounds, regardless of race or ability to pay. When I was asked to join the board of YES in 2019, it was an easy decision. As we saw earlier, every one of us has experience with mental health challenges, and I am no different. As a young girl, I grew up in a patriarchal family where sons were valued over daughters. I watched my father, who was well respected in the community, laugh and joke with friends and colleagues. However, I was always on the receiving end of his temper. I used to think that there must be something wrong with me because he was very nice to everyone else. I lived in a constant state of fear of my father's verbal and emotional abuse, and it led me to feel lonely and have a low self-esteem. I did not realize at the time how much this childhood trauma affected me. Feeling like I was never good enough was a big burden to carry on to adulthood. It took me a long time to admit my trauma and finally ask for a counselor's help to heal and realize that I am enough. There is a stigma around mental health, which can cause many to delay their recovery or forgo it altogether. That is why it is important to support these young people, to give them the best chance early in life. This is where YES comes in. They are easily accessible through schools and communities. YES staff represents 10 languages. They ensure that their programming is inclusive and culturally diverse. YES is focused on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, not just in the clients they serve, but also in their staff and the board members. I am humbled and proud to be part of an organization where everyone strives to create a safe and inclusive environment and improves the lives of children in our local community. I firmly believe that by providing opportunities and empowering our youth, we create future leaders who are caring and compassionate. Today, each of us in this room has an opportunity to do our part in creating that safe place for our society to thrive and help our youth realize they are more than enough. Together, let us remove the stigma around mental health. Let us empower our children and youth. Please contribute to our future by contributing to YES. Join me this morning to help us raise $1 million for this amazing organization. Your donation can and will transform the lives of youth and their families in East King County. I am excited to announce that gifts of $500 and more will be matched dollar for dollar by our champions matching pool up to the total of the pool. As Elisa mentioned earlier today, any donors who make a gift of $500 or more will also be entered to win a one-night stay at the Willows Lodge in Woodinville and a $200 gift certificate to the Barking Frog restaurant. Here are the costs to provide these counseling and treatment services. $5,000 pays for a year of life-saving youth and family counseling to a family who otherwise would not be able to afford these services. $2,500 will help a young person manage their medication in collaboration with their counselor and an on-site psychiatrist. $1,000 will help teens to manage their substance use with support from a licensed co-occurring disorder counselor and their peers in group therapy. $500 will support volunteer success mentors and their mentees who are seeking to build long-term supportive bonds. And $200, the minimum suggested donation for today's event, will provide education and prevention presentations at schools. Most importantly, your donation funds YES's ability to serve every young person, regardless of their financial situation. $1 million is what we are trying to raise today. Because of the incredible generosity of our sponsors and early donations, we have $401,890 left to raise to reach our goal of $1 million. A big thank you to the Champions for Youth Giving Circle members listed in your program and on the screen behind me, who have participated in the pool that will double the impact of gifts at the $500 level and above. Now, you can make your donation by scanning the QR code in your program or at your table by visiting youtheastsideservices.org/donate or by using the remit envelopes at your table. We encourage you to make your donation online, and to avoid technology challenges, please use your cellular data to make your gift. As you continue to make your donation, we are very excited to have a special performance for you today. 18-year-old Bella Copic, a senior at Juanita High School, will perform a song she has personally written, "I'm Gonna Be Me." She will be accompanied by her friend, Aiden Liu, on piano, also a senior at Juanita High School. Please help me welcome Bella Copic and Aiden Liu. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just want to start by saying thank you all so much for being here and supporting this cause, because it's incredible and touching what all is being done to support people now who need support. And I myself got support at a young age. I've had a therapist since I was 9, and I at 18 still have that same therapist today. I think part of why I've been able to have that same therapist is because since I started therapy at a young age, I was more trusting of the world, and I was more trusting of her to be able to open myself up to her about my life and my experiences that changed my life forever. And I don't see that in a negative light anymore. I wrote this song about being myself, regardless of anyone else. And I don't think I could be at this mental state without the help I've received, and that I hope others can receive as well. I hope you enjoy.
Cheeks from the heat. Sometimes I struggle to rise. I'm alive, I'm awake, it's okay. I don't know the way that this day leads. be swayed by the dark. I won't let you tell me what I need. I won't let you. I'm gonna be me today and the day after that. Because I'm me already, so there's no need to hold back. I'll be who I am. I'll say what I want. I'll make my mistakes, even though that they're wrong. I'm gonna be me today and the day after that. The day after that. Stray ironed hair in the evening. My bangs are all way out of place. I'm tearing the floor up tonight. I'm alive, and I don't know the way that this night leads, but I will now sway with the dark. No one can tell me what I need, 'cause I will just take what I want. Me tonight and the night after that. Because I'm me already, so there's no need to hold back. I'll be who I am. I'll say what I want. I'll make my mistakes, even though that they're wrong. I'm gonna be me tonight and the night after that. The night after that. Thank you.
Wonderful, Bella. I'm really excited about our next guest, as you can see, yes. Sean Astin is joining us for a conversation about the importance of mental health and how our own experiences can inspire us and help others. You probably know Sean from, oh my gosh, Goonies, Rudy, Stranger Things, you name it, Lord of the Rings. He's also do you produce and direct and all that kind of stuff too?
I hang around.
You hang around? Also, the son of award-winning actress Patty Duke. I used to come home after school every day and watch the Patty Duke Show reruns.
Remember
cousins, identical cousins.
All the way.
Yeah.
Patty only seeing the sights of go 'cause he from
They walk
Brooklyn
alike, they talk alike.
Sometimes they even, I never know that
Something
part. I know
part,
there's
yeah.
a thing about a hot dog makes her lose control that everybody's like,
Seriously?
A hot
What's
dog
that?
makes her lose control? Well, because it's Patty. Kathy likes a crepe Suzette.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
Patty is
And it's all about food because my son just sent me a text and said, tell Sean to have potatoes, and there's some meme about you and potatoes. Does everybody know?
You guys know it?
Do you know that?
Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew with a nice piece of fried fish.
That's when I felt really old because I didn't know what my kid
My
was
Academy
talking
Award-winning mom is so proud of the potato thing.
Right. You know, one of the things about your mother is that she suffered bipolar disorder and later became a mental health advocate, and it's a role that you have continued. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you very much. I want to say one thing about the donation thing.
Yes.
Because I was really moved by the idea of it, and I was thinking, you know, when you give a donation, you're sort of sending it away, and you know what's going towards these things. But then I think about when you watch the news, which you spent a long time bringing to us, and there's horror shows that happen all the time on the news, and the idea of knowing that, like, you're not just a bystander, you're not just like a product of that environment, you're actually doing something. You can be like, that bad thing happened, but I know my dollar is working right now to help people. That sort of inspired me to want to share with you.
Yeah. I mean, just think of all the families, in Allen, Texas right now who are going to have a lot of problems for a lot of years.
I mean,
you name it, right.
Yeah.
When I think about you as a kid, and it's one thing to be in a household with very famous people, it's another to have some of the challenges that you faced before your mother was diagnosed as bipolar. Give us...
And after.
And after. Oh, okay. That's true, right? But let's go into before you even knew what it was. What were some of the things that made you who you are today that you're like, this isn't like my neighbor's house?
Well, we don't have a lot of time. But I always have to say when I talk about this, because you really want to explain some of the trauma that happened, but there was also extraordinary goodness and love in our lives. And my mom, despite all her problems, loved us, made sure we knew she loved us. And so it's really critical to be able to, like our brilliant speakers here today, to talk about those positive things. On the negative side, we didn't have a name for bipolar, but we knew she wasn't well. She was suicidal, many suicide attempts, several times in front of us, almost including us in her pain. She would try to explain it to us. She's like, you don't understand. I'm in so much pain. My heart hurts. It hurts so bad. And we're just sitting there as kids, loving her. But, what can you do?
Afraid all the time that it could end? I mean,
well, I got angry. My brother was a sobbing, weeping mess. He ended up going through his own drug and alcohol abuse later in life. But I knew, and I'm sure that I knew because of her, that it wasn't my fault. That whatever was, and that's a gift, because a lot of people struggle thinking if they could have done something better. I didn't have that particular problem. I knew that she was suffering, and the only problem I had was I couldn't figure out what to do additionally. But when she did get her diagnosis, she embraced it. For her, it was a lifeline, a conscious narrative restructuring, personal life biography restructuring piece of information that came along with a therapy and medicine and all that. As her kids, we watched her become a lay expert who touched the lives of thousands and thousands of people directly. And my whole life I've experienced people who were touched by her story. But she wasn't that much better.
Oh, so she was a pro at understanding it, but she still had...
But she still had her experience, and her depressions lasted months sometimes. It got better. It got better. She learned wellness strategies. She learned what her triggers were. She learned that a tuna fish sandwich or a long walk or a good night's sleep, and drinking water, like some of the basic fundamentals of life, were helpful. And she had her support system around her. But, at least in those first couple of years right afterwards, to us, she seemed like a hypocrite. To us, it seemed like, well, good for thee, but not for me type of thing. Like, don't help other people and then come back into our home and it's like family knows each other's secrets. We know each other's pains. We know each other's foibles. I watch the video and I just think, my heart breaks for that family that they didn't know. With us, it was like we knew. The contradictions of mental illness are, they're the challenge. How can someone be so wonderful and then suffer so much? Offer so much value to their family, to their friends, to the world, and still be in so much pain. And so, when David asked if it's getting better, you and I had a little bit of a discussion in the community because I said it's getting a little better.
I said no.
I know, because you said the problem is growing exponentially. But what I see are services like this. I travel all over the country. I see, in Houston and Toronto and in New York and a lot of the places I go, the community gets it. Everyone knows there's a problem. And so when we talk about stigma, I almost feel like we're at the next step where everybody knows somebody. If it's not you or within your family, your friend group, your work, people know people. And the idea that now the trick is to be patient enough to try and identify the resources that are available, because the odds are there are resources available to you. And so
And when you say stigma, that's one of the reasons this is a near and dear cause to my heart, because as a child, it was taboo to have suicide in a family or have my father be a drug user, or to even talk about depression. And now, as a parent, how are you with your children when you remember what happened in your home? Do you do things differently, or do you have conversations? Do you worry about them?
They are, one of the things I'm impressed with in this setting, and in a lot of settings like this, is that there's a vocabulary. That each of the speakers talked about their experience, and it was like attended by some process that worked for them. This dialectic communication technology and other things. My wife, her father committed suicide. My father-in-law committed suicide when our oldest child was 3 months old.
This is 26 years ago?
26 years ago, yeah. And she has developed with me, with my family. You know, we're actors too, so we're by nature a little bit melodramatic. But
no, you don't say.
No, it's true. It's true. I know you don't believe it, but it's true. But she developed, and my family always knew, we're talky people. Some people aren't talky people.
No, I realize that as I'm watching the clock.
I'm sorry, I know.
No, you keep going.
No, we
don't
like
have
our
anywhere to be,
feelings. Let me tell you about my feelings, and like we go on about it. So my kids have that vocabulary and that sensitivity, and they also see their friends who have self-harm issues, or there's bullying, or all those things. So we've, one of the hardest parts about parenting is seeing them go through a school experience and not, and there's certain things that it's like either they have to experience, or maybe you can find tools for them, but it's scary and it's painful. So I'm very proud of and grateful for my wife's ability. I give her sort of all credit. I go out and I talk about this stuff, and I try not to repeat the mistakes of my mother, where I come home and pretend I'm some expert and then not function properly, and and let them, we always try and get like a little bit better, the next generation a little bit. Their grandkids are going to be set,
Right. Do you feel like you still have struggles today because of what you went through as a child?
The one thing about mental illness, that the impact is that it's sneaky little surprises where you don't know when something is going to happen. Call it a trigger, call it a memory, call it a feeling. But yeah, of course. Since my mom passed in 2016, I've worked on my relationship with her. I talked to her, and I noticed that the things that were the most painful have receded in their intensity and in their impact. And I also know that, she dedicated the second half of her life to this issue, traveling all over the country, doing movies and books and speech. This was her salvation. The ability to take the pain that she had, just like our speakers did today, and try and understand it better, share the work that she was doing on herself with other people, so there was a kind of transparency to it.
So is it your salvation too?
Well, ever since Lord of the Rings, people have been asking me to come to these things and talk about it. So I didn't set out for it to be, but I do these Comic-Cons where people are in line for hours, and I talk to them, I people surf, speed date for 2 minutes a person for a whole weekend. And it is an endless sea of gratitude for my mother's work and for my willingness to talk about our family's experience. And so, yeah, I guess so.
So when you are with the youth at Comic-Con, or adults, what is your message to the youth today when you have these?
Well, there's so many things. In that setting, what you realize is the power of myth, the power of narrative, the power of literature and filmmaking and music to lift people up. Are we out of time? I'm guessing we're out of time.
Just keep going.
Okay. David, I told you it wasn't enough time.
It's all David went over 3 minutes.
He did?
Yeah, you get his.
It's outrageous. See?
You always
by
go
example,
over.
pal.
You need to build that in.
I just want to compliment you and this entire organization and all these volunteer kids out here, because this event is an
Okay, we're out of time.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
It doesn't suck, I'll put it that way. I want to do a quote from Lord of the Rings.
Wait, first your message.
Well,
your
the message to them, I mean, kind of like in our chat about, is it getting worse? It's like there's hope. There are people doing things. It's not always going to be like this. There are ways to help your family. There are ways to learn and grow. It doesn't have to be your identity. Like, it's great for intense periods of time or as you need it to be able to exist in a space of healing, of, clinical understanding, to put it in that way or whatever. But you can go, one of the problems with mental health, with the stigma, is like if you break your arm, mental health care people are always saying, it's like a broken arm. And you're like, you don't talk about it like it's a broken arm. With a broken arm, you get a cast and it heals and you leave. Mm-hmm. With mental health, you're like, is this who I am for the rest of my life? Is it a permanent diagnosis? Like, what are you saying to me with my identity? And the truth is that this is one piece of your experience. It can be as big a piece as you want, or you can train it to be as manageable a piece and then do whatever else you want with your life and let those experiences, your expression, the work that you do, be who you want. Rudy is,
the best.
It's the best movie ever made. I think we would all agree. Yeah. Especially USC and Washington State fans, I'm sure. Big Notre Dame fans out there. But he was the last guy on the bench, like the last person to have a movie made about him. But the message that he hit on is a great mental health advocacy thing, which is that people told him he couldn't do the thing he wanted to do. And he refused to accept that answer. He wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he worked, hard work. The speakers today talked about doing the work. Everything in life, mental health recovery, everything we do is made better through grit and determination and hard work. And that's the advice I give to young performers who want to be actors. I'm like, hey man, you got to work hard. And then there is joy, happiness, fulfillment, success in whatever way you define that. If you're willing to apply yourself and, like Shakespeare says, know thyself, to thine own self be true, which is hard to do if you don't know who you are.
Speaking of quotes, you have a Lord of the Ring quote that you're going to leave us.
You're so good. You should have worked in the news for 30 years.
Yeah, 35 or
years.
40 or something.
40 years.
50, I don't know.
It's impossible.
Whatever. Yeah, nice.
You remind me of my mom a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
I do have my own challenges, but that's for another.
She was a powerful, the president of a union, best-selling author, won many Emmys. She was a very, very powerful human being, and her bipolar, I don't like the language we use, disorder, condition, illness, disease. I don't like any of those. Yeah. I would kindly request anyone in the psychiatric profession to come up with better words to talk about these things. But it was only a part of her life. She was powerful and beautiful and graceful. That's what I see in you.
Oh.
So.
Well, I'm so glad I didn't
and they
cut
see
you
it
off
too.
3 minutes ago.
All right, here we go. Okay, are you ready for this
quote?
This is the unimpeachably powerful quote. Thank you to J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay. It's like in the great tales, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go on when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass, and a new day will come, and when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those are the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't, because they were holding on to something. Now you say, what are we holding on to, Santa?
What are we holding on to, Santa?
That there's some good left in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. Hold you.
In other words, don't forget in the darkness what you know to be true in the light. Thank you so much. Sean Astin.
Cool.
You can sit there for a second.
We're still sitting. Okay.
Yeah, you can sit.
I want to hug you.
Oh,
I'm looking for a hug.
I'll tap into that. Oh, you can.
Sit down. Sit down. Go on. Look at these people.
Stand for him, please.
Oh, I want to say something to our young speakers, wherever you are. when you're getting a standing ovation, you have to stop and enjoy it a little bit. You guys raced off the stage. This is wonderful feedback, and you want to be grateful.
I also want to say to our table hosts who have taken the action in advocating for youth mental health by inviting your friends here and your family and your coworkers to learn more about this critical topic. Sean is available for photos just for a few minutes because he's got a board meeting that he has to attend. So we're going to have, I know, I don't, it's 9:36. You've got.
We'll try and do as many people as we can.
We're going to try and do as many. So we're going to join him at the YES Step and Repeat banner. They're going to try and set up table, get some people, and coordinate this so that you can get a photo taken. That's the table host. But we're going to try after that to get as many people as possible before you have to run out of here.
Do you know anything about improv comedy?
Yeah, why? What do you want to do?
There's a no.
Oh,
There's
thank
just
God.
there's a rule in doing improv comedy, and it's called yes and.
Yes and.
Yes and. Whatever problem somebody throws at you, you just say yes and then you build on top of it. I think that's a pretty good corollary for what you guys are doing here today. So
I love that. YES and our program is about to conclude. So thank you all for joining us this morning, supporting youth who are struggling with mental health challenges. We hope that you're going to enjoy the rest of your day and feel inspired and filled with hope, and scan that code and leave some money, because that's what we need as well. Thank you again for making this year's YES Invest in Youth Breakfast so wonderful. And you can take the centerpieces, table captains, or whoever you want to pass that along to. Enjoy your day, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Can I have a hug now?
Now we get to hug.